I'd spent 3 hours on that roast chicken, the kind with rosemary and lemon, David's favorite. I'd brought it to his house in the good carrier, the one I used for special occasions, set it on the dining table along with the mashed potatoes, green beans, and the rolls I'd made that morning. Sunday dinner. We'd done this for years. Me, David, his wife Jessica, and Tyler, my 12-year-old grandson. It was tradition. Family time. I'd just taken my seat when the conversation turned to Tyler's future. College plans. Jessica mentioned something about saving for tuition. Well, I said, I remember when David went to state, the tuition was, Mom. David's voice had an edge I didn't recognize. That's not really relevant. I blinked, looked at him across the table. I just meant that I could help with... You don't really understand how things work anymore. He cut me off, didn't even look up from his plate. College costs have changed. Everything's different now. Jessica shifted in her seat. Tyler's fork paused halfway to his mouth. David, I said carefully, I was just offering to... Mom, honestly. He finally looked at me. His expression was flat, impatient. You don't matter in these decisions. You're not contributing to Tyler's future. This is between Jessica and me, adult decisions. The words hit me like cold water. I sat there, fork in my hand, the roast chicken I'd spent 3 hours making going cold on my plate. David was still talking, something about a 529 plan, investment strategies, but I wasn't listening anymore. You don't matter. I looked at Jessica. She was staring at her napkin. Tyler had gone very still. I set my fork down, slowly. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. I felt very calm, very clear. Excuse me, I said. I need to get something from my car. David barely glanced up. Mom, we're in the middle of dinner. I'll just be a moment. I walked out to the driveway, opened my car, the glove compartment. The manila folder was exactly where I'd kept it for the past 4 years. Ever since that day in Tom's office when I'd signed the withdrawal papers, I'd kept everything, every receipt, every bank statement, every email. I walked back into the dining room. The conversation had moved on. David was explaining something about compound interest to Tyler. I didn't interrupt. I simply placed the folder on the table, right next to the roast chicken. The sound of it hitting the wood made everyone stop. David looked at the folder, then at me. What's this? I opened it, pulled out the top document, placed it in front of him. That, I said quietly, is your down payment receipt from September 2019, $85,000 from my retirement account. You said you needed it for the house. You promised you'd pay me back within 2 years. The silence was immediate. David's face went pale. He reached for the paper. I watched his eyes move across the numbers. The signature line. My signature. Jessica's. Hand went to her mouth. I heard her sharp inhale. Tyler's fork stopped mid-air. 4 years ago, I continued. My voice was steady, measured. You promised me. You said it was temporary, that your bonus was delayed, that you'd pay me back. David's jaw tightened. Mom, this isn't the time. When is the time? I asked. Because I've waited 4 years, and tonight you told me I don't matter, that I'm not contributing. But when you needed $85,000 from my retirement account, I mattered then, didn't I? I pulled out the rest of the documents, bank statements, emails, property records. I didn't lay them all out. I just let him see them. The stack, the proof. I kept copies of everything, David. I looked at him directly. Every single thing. He opened his mouth, closed it. His hand was shaking slightly as he held the receipt. Jessica was staring at him. David. Her voice was barely a whisper. You told me she gave it as a gift. I picked up my purse, left the folder on the table. I need to go, I said. Tyler's voice was small. Grandma. I touched his shoulder as I passed. It's okay, sweetheart. Enjoy your dinner. I didn't wait for David to respond. I walked out, got in my car, drove home. It wasn't until I was sitting in my own kitchen, at my own table, that I let myself feel it. The hurt, the anger, the betrayal. But underneath all that, there was something else. Clarity. For the first time in 4 years, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I live in a split-level house in Westfield, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. John and I bought it in 1992, paid it off in 2010. It's mine now. Has been since John died in 2015. Heart attack. Sudden. He was only 65. I retired 2 years later, after 35 years as a school librarian. I'd loved that job, the quiet, the books, the kids coming in looking for answers. But after John died, the house felt too big, too quiet. I thought retirement would help. It didn't. Not really. But it gave me time. Time to realize how much I'd given away. I have a pension, $2,400 a month. Social Security brings in another $1,800, $4,200 total. It's enough. The house is paid off. I'm careful with money. Always have been. David was born in 1982. I raised him mostly alone. John worked long hours. Sales manager, always traveling. And then when David was 13, John had his first heart attack. Not the one that killed him, the first one. After that, he couldn't work as much. So I became the main breadwinner, librarian salary. Not much, but steady. David went to college. State school. I paid for it. $42,000 over 4 years. I worked a second job. Library aide at the community college. Evenings and weekends. Double shifts when I could get them. 6 years of that. But he graduated. No student loans. I was proud of that. Then came the wedding, 2008. Jessica was sweet, kind. I liked her immediately. David wanted a real wedding, not just City Hall. I paid for it. $15,000. Every penny I'd saved. Gone in one day, but I didn't mind. He was happy. That mattered. 2012, he needed a car. Down payment. $8,000 from my rainy day fund. 2019. That was the big one. The house. David and Jessica had been renting. They wanted to buy. Needed 20% down to avoid extra fees. The house cost $425,000. They needed $85,000 for the down payment. David's voice on the phone that day. "Mom, my bonus got delayed. We're about to lose the house. We need the down payment in 2 weeks or we lose it." I remember sitting at the kitchen table, looking at the number he needed. $85,000. I had $280,000 in my retirement account. If I took out $85,000, I'd still have enough to live on. Or so I thought. I called Tom Patterson, my financial advisor. I'd been working with him for 15 years. Tom's office smells like coffee, always has. He brings the same dented thermos to every meeting, calls me Mrs. Anderson, even after 15 years. "Carol," he said. He only uses my first name when he's worried. "That's 30% of your retirement. Are you sure about this?" "He's my son," I said. "Get it in writing." Tom leaned forward. "At least have him sign a promissory note, something that says he'll pay you back." "We don't need that," I said. He promised. 2 years, he said. He'll have the money in 2 years. Tom didn't push. He should have. But he respected my choice. He printed the forms. I signed. $85,000 withdrawn from my retirement account. Gone. I thought I was helping. I thought I was building his future, securing something solid for my grandson. Over 25 years, I'd given David $150,000. College, wedding, car, house, everything I had, everything I could scrape together. I never asked for anything back, never expected it. That's what mothers do, right? You give, you sacrifice. You make sure your child has more than you did. My neighbor Margaret saw me the day after I signed the withdrawal papers. She was in her garden, like always. 7 in the morning, watering her roses. Margaret's a retired nurse, widowed like me. She lost her husband in 2018. We'd been neighbors for 15 years. She waves at my kitchen window every morning. "Big day yesterday," she said over the fence. "I saw you come home late. Everything okay?" "I helped David with his house," I said. Down payment. She smiled. That's wonderful, Carol. I hope he appreciates what you did. He does, I said. I believed it then. But there were signs, even then. David promised to pay me back in 2 years, but when I brought it up 6 months later, casually, just mentioned it, he got defensive. Mom, I'm still getting settled. Give me time. A year passed, then 2. I saw him buy a truck, a new one, 2021, Ford F-150. He was so excited. Posted pictures on social media. $45,000, I found out later. 2022, they put in a pool in-ground with a hot tub. I was invited to the grand opening party. I brought potato salad. The pool looked expensive. It was $35,000. I know because Tyler mentioned it. Proud of the number. The way kids are. 2023. A boat, 22 feet. David had always wanted a boat. He called me to tell me about it. Finally got one, Mom. It's beautiful. You should come out on the lake with us. I never asked about the money. Never mentioned the $85,000 sitting unpaid. I told myself he was doing well, building a life. Maybe he'd forgotten. Maybe he thought I didn't need it back. Maybe he thought it was a gift. I was afraid to ask. Afraid of what it would mean if I brought it up. Afraid of conflict. I'd spent my whole life avoiding conflict. Keeping the peace. Making sure everyone was comfortable. That was my flaw. I realize that now. I valued harmony over honesty. I let things slide because confrontation felt worse than being taken advantage of. David's sister Karen called me once. Karen lives in Oregon. She's a teacher, married with 2 kids. She's always been more direct than David. Mom, she said, has David paid you back yet? Not yet, I said. He's working on it. Mom, her voice was firm. He's never going to pay you back. You know that, right? He thinks you're a bank he doesn't have to repay. Karen, don't. I lent him $5,000 in 2015. He never paid me back either. This is what he does. I didn't want to hear it. I made an excuse, got off the phone. But I remembered that call, remembered the warning. I just didn't want to believe it. That evening, the evening after Sunday dinner, after I'd driven home, I sat at my kitchen table again. Same chair, same table where I'd had coffee every morning for 30 years. The documents were still in the folder. I'd made copies before I went to David's house. Everything was in my filing cabinet, organized, labeled. I picked up a photo from the shelf. David's college graduation, 2004, cap and gown, my arm around his shoulders, both of us smiling. He'd hugged me that day. Said, I couldn't have done this without you, Mom. Thank you. I looked at that photo for a long time, tried to find the moment things changed. When did gratitude turn into expectation? When did helping turn into being used? I didn't have an answer, but I knew one thing. I couldn't keep living like this. Invisible, dismissed, told I didn't matter. Something had to change. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling until 2 in the morning. Then I got up, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table in the dark. The house was quiet, just the hum of the refrigerator, the occasional creak of the walls settling. I'd lived here for 32 years. I knew every sound. I went to the hallway closet, pulled out the file box from the top shelf, the one labeled David Financial. I'd started it years ago. Every time I gave him money, I kept a record. Not because I didn't trust him, but because I'd been a librarian for 35 years. I knew how to document things, how to organize, how to keep track. I brought the box to the kitchen table, opened it. Bank statements from 2019, withdrawal slips, copies of the forms I'd signed in Tom's office, the retirement account statement showing the before and after, $280,450, then $195,450. I spread them out, one by one. The paper rustled in the quiet house. I thought about all those years in the library, teaching kids how to research, how to find information that was hidden, buried. I just never thought I'd be using those skills to investigate my own son. Then I found the email. It was printed. From 2020, September. A year after I'd given him the money, I'd printed it because I'd been copied on it accidentally. I remembered that day, seeing it in my inbox. The subject line, Mom's money. I picked it up, read it again. David to Jessica. Don't worry about Mom's money. She'll never ask for it back. She's too soft. We can use it for the pool next year. Maybe the boat after that. She doesn't need it. Her house is paid off. She's fine. My hand started shaking, slightly. I set the email down, picked it up again. Read it 3 more times. She's too soft. She'll never ask for it back. He'd planned it. From the beginning, he'd never intended to repay me. I pulled out more bank statements, my own, from 2021 through 2024. I looked at the dates, the purchases I'd noticed but never questioned. April 2021, David's truck. I'd seen the social media post. Finally got my dream truck. $45,000. I'd looked up the model later, out of curiosity. June 2022, the pool permit, public records. I'd been invited to the party. Tyler had been so excited. Grandma, it cost $35,000. It has jets. August 2023, the boat registration. I'd gotten the tour. 22 feet, custom seats. David had been proud. $28,000, Mom, but worth every penny. I did the math. $45,000, $35,000, $28,000, $108,000. He'd spent more than he'd borrowed from me, while telling me he'd pay me back eventually, while telling me at Sunday dinner that I didn't matter. I sat there looking at the numbers, the evidence, the proof. Part of me understood. I did. David had always been proud, stubborn. After his father died when he was 13, he'd tried so hard to be the man of the house. Too hard, maybe. I'd watched him struggle with that. The pressure, the need to prove himself. Maybe that's why he couldn't admit he still needed help at 42. Maybe taking my money made him feel like a failure, like he couldn't provide. So he convinced himself it didn't count, that it was a gift, that I didn't need it back. But understanding didn't make it right. At 7 a.m, I called Tom. He answered on the 3rd ring. His voice was professional, careful. Carol, this is early for you. I need to ask you something, I said. When I withdrew that money in 2019, the $85,000, did David sign anything? A promissory note? Anything official? Silence. Then, no. You said you didn't need that. You said it was family. But I told you he promised to pay me back. You did. So legally, I paused, tried to find the words. Is it a loan or a gift? More silence. I heard papers shuffling, Tom's chair creaking. If you expected repayment, Tom said slowly, and he promised to repay you, then legally that's a loan, even without a written agreement. Verbal contracts are valid in this state, especially with evidence of intent. I have emails, I said, from him, saying he'd pay me back within 2 years. Then you have a case. His voice changed, became more direct. Carol, what's going on? He told me I don't matter, I said. At Sunday dinner, in front of his family, he said I'm not contributing to his future, that my opinions don't matter. I heard Tom exhale. I'm sorry. I have everything documented, I continued. Every withdrawal, every promise, every purchase he's made since then. Carol. Tom's voice was firm now, concerned. What are you planning to do? I looked at the documents spread across my kitchen table, the evidence, the numbers, the lies. I don't know yet, I said, but I need to know my options. You should talk to a lawyer, Tom said. Not a financial advisor, an attorney, someone who handles family financial disputes. Can you recommend someone? I can send you a name. He paused. Carol, I should have pushed harder in 2019. I should have insisted on the promissory note. I wouldn't have listened, I said. It was true. I wanted to believe him. I know. His voice was gentle. But you have options now. Real ones. We hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Mom, I'm sorry about last night. I didn't mean it that way. You know I didn't. I stared at the screen. Didn't respond. 5 minutes later, another text. "Mom, are you okay?" I set the phone face down on the table. 10 minutes after that, he called. I watched it ring. David, my son, the person I'd given everything to. I didn't answer. He called again. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail. "Mom, you're being weird. I said I was sorry. Call me back, please." I deleted it. Around 9 in the morning, Margaret knocked on my door. I'd seen her through the kitchen window. She'd been in her garden like always, watering, weeding. She'd glanced at my window a few times, must have seen me sitting there. She had a casserole dish in her hands when I opened the door. "You were up early," she said. Not a question, an observation. Couldn't sleep. I saw the light on it too. She handed me the casserole. Tuna noodle. Nothing fancy. "Margaret, you didn't have to." "I know." She looked at me. Really looked. "You okay, hun?" I almost told her. Almost said it all. But I didn't. Not yet. "I'm realizing some things," I said instead. "Things I should have seen sooner." Margaret nodded. Didn't push. That's what I liked about her. She knew when to ask and when to just be present. "Well," she said, "I'm next door if you need me." "I know." She squeezed my hand, went back to her garden. I closed the door, looked at the casserole, at the document still spread across my table, at my phone with David's unanswered calls. I wasn't being weird. I was being clear. For the first time in 4 years, I was seeing things exactly as they were. And I knew I couldn't go back to pretending I didn't. I called Tom the next morning, asked if I could come to his office. Bring the documents. He cleared his afternoon schedule. His office is downtown, 10th floor. I'd been there dozens of times over 15 years. Same building, same office, same view of the park across the street. Tom was waiting when I arrived. He had coffee ready. That same dented thermos he always brought. The office smelled like it always did. Coffee and paper and the faint scent of furniture polish. Normal things. Routine things. But the papers I carried in my folder weren't routine. Tom closed the door, gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Show me what you have." I opened the folder, started with the basics. The bank withdrawal slip from September 12th, 2019. It was on top. I'd kept the original. Tom had given me a copy that day, but I'd asked for the original too. Something told me I might need it. I placed it on his desk. $85,000. My signature on the line. The memo section. David Anderson, house down payment. Tom picked it up, studied it. I watched his face. Professional, careful. But I saw the tightness around his eyes. He remembered that day, the conversation we'd had, the warning he'd given me. "This is the withdrawal form," he said. "I remember. You signed it right here." He touched a spot on his desk, the memory placed exactly. Then he pulled out the retirement account statement from his files. He keeps everything, every client, every transaction organized. He placed the statement next to the withdrawal slip. Account balance before, $280,450. Account balance after, $195,450. The difference stared up at me. $85,000. Gone from my retirement. Gone into David's house. I picked up the withdrawal slip, held it in my hands. The paper was heavier than I remembered, or maybe I was just feeling the weight of it differently now, the texture of it, the ink of my signature. I'd signed this, right here in this office. Tom had pushed the paper across the desk. I'd read it, understood what it meant, 30% of my retirement, and I'd signed it anyway, because David had promised. 2 years, he'd said. "I'll pay you back in 2 years, Mom. You're saving us." I sat there holding that withdrawal slip, $85,000 in my handwriting. I remembered signing it, remembered thinking it would help him build a life, build something solid for Tyler, for the family. I didn't know I was signing away my right to matter. I didn't know that 4 years later he'd tell me I didn't contribute, that my opinions were irrelevant. But I had the proof now. That's what mattered. This paper. This signature, this evidence. Carol? Tom's voice was gentle. You okay? I set the withdrawal slip down carefully. I'm fine. What else do you need to see? Tom's expression shifted, became more focused. Everything. Show me. Everything you have. I pulled out the next set of documents, printed from the county assessor's website the night before. Property records for 1247 Maple Drive. David and Jessica Anderson. Purchase date, September 28, 2019. Purchase price, $425,000. Down payment, $85,000. Exactly what I'd given him, to the dollar. Tom compared the dates. The withdrawal, September 12th. The house purchase, September 28th. 16 days apart. The timeline matches, Tom said. Your money went directly into this house. I know. I pulled out more papers, emails, printed, dated. September 15th, 2019. David to me. Mom, I can't thank you enough. This house is perfect for us. Tyler will have his own room, a yard, a real home. I promise I'll pay you back within 2 years. You're saving my family. I won't forget this. I won't forget this. Tom read the email, set it aside. He promised repayment in writing. That's important. There's more, I said. I showed him the records I'd compiled. David's purchases over the past 4 years. Vehicle registration, Ford F-150, April 2021. Purchase price, $45,000. Building permit, in-ground pool installation, June 2022. Cost $35,000. Boat registration, 22-foot fishing boat, August 2023. Financed amount $28,000. Tom did the math quickly. $108,000. He spent more than he borrowed from you. While telling me he'd pay me back eventually, I said. Tom was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out his calculator, started running numbers. Your retirement account, he said. If you'd left that $85,000 in, it would have grown. Conservative estimate, 6% annually. That's... He tapped keys. About $113,000 today. You've lost $28,000 in potential growth alone. $28,000. On top of the $85,000 I'd given him. So really, I said slowly, he owes me more than what I gave him. Legally? Yes. Tom leaned back, looked at me directly. Carol, this isn't just about the money anymore. This is about documentation, evidence, and you have it, every piece of it. I nodded, felt the weight of that. The proof spread across Tom's desk. I need a lawyer, I said. Not a financial advisor, someone who handles this kind of thing. Family, financial disputes, Tom said. Elder law. You need someone who specializes in that. Do you know anyone? Tom was already reaching for his phone. Sarah Mitchell. She's handled cases like this before. Very direct, very thorough. She doesn't take cases unless she thinks there's something there. Can you call her? I can do better than that. He dialed, put it on speaker. A woman's voice answered. Professional, clear. Sarah Mitchell. Sarah, it's Tom Patterson. I have a client in my office. Carol Anderson. I think she needs your help. What kind of situation? Tom glanced at me. I nodded. Family loan, he said. $85,000 to her son, 4 years ago. Promised to repay. No written contract, but we have emails and evidence he's spent significantly since then while not repaying her. Elder financial abuse? Sarah's voice sharpened. Potentially. Can she come in? Can you come in? Tom asked me. Yes, I said. Tom arranged it. Thursday afternoon, 2 days away. When we hung up, Tom looked at me. Really looked. Carol, I should have pushed harder in 2019. I should have made you get a contract. I wouldn't have listened, I said. It was the truth. I wanted to believe him. That's not your fault. Still, he gestured at the documents. You have everything you need here. Everything. Sarah will help you. I gathered the papers, put them back in the folder, careful, organized. As I stood to leave, Tom said, Carol, one more thing. I turned. What changed? He asked. You've had these documents for 4 years. You could have called me any time. What made you finally do it?" I thought about Sunday dinner, the roast chicken, David's voice. "You don't matter." "He told me I didn't matter," I said simply, and I realized I couldn't live like that anymore. Tom nodded. Didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. I called Karen that evening, David's sister. I needed to tell someone in the family, someone who'd understand. She answered on the first ring. "Mom, everything okay?" "I need to talk to you about David." I heard her exhale. "What did he do?" I told her. The money, the promise, the 4 years, Sunday dinner, the documents. Karen was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I'm not surprised." "I know," I said. "You warned me." "He borrowed $5,000 from me in 2015, she said. "Never paid me back. I wrote it off. I should have told you to do the same." "I couldn't," I said. "It was too much." "What are you going to do?" "I'm seeing a lawyer. Thursday." Another pause. Then, "Good. Mom, I'm proud of you." "It doesn't feel good," I said. "It's not supposed to," Karen said, "but you're standing up for yourself. Finally." We hung up. I sat in my kitchen, the folder of documents on the table. My phone rang. David. I let it go to voicemail, the voicemail. "Mom, Karen just called me. She said you're talking to a lawyer about me? What the hell is going on? Call me back. We need to talk about this. This is insane." I saved the voicemail, added it to the evidence. Then I turned off my phone. I needed quiet. I needed to think. And I needed to prepare for Thursday, for Sarah Mitchell, for the next step. Thursday morning. I woke at 6:30, earlier than usual, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table watching the sunrise through the window, the same window I'd looked through for 32 years, the same light, the same chair. But something was different. I wasn't afraid anymore. I thought about Christmas, 2018, 6 years ago, before the money, before the house, before everything changed. We'd been at my house that year, me, David, Jessica, Tyler. Tyler was 6 then, still young enough to believe in Santa Claus, still young enough to be excited about everything. David had helped me with the tree, a real one. We'd picked it out together. He'd carried it into the house, set it up in the corner by the window. We'd spent an hour decorating it. Him handing me ornaments, me hanging them. Tyler bouncing around telling us where each one should go. After dinner, pot roast, David's favorite, we'd sat in the living room, the tree lights glowing, soft music playing. Tyler had fallen asleep on the couch between David and Jessica. David had looked at me, smiled, that real smile, the one that reached his eyes. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Mom," he'd said, quiet, sincere. "Seriously, you've always been there, for everything." I'd touched his hand. "That's what mothers do." "Not all of them," he'd said. "You're special. I hope Tyler knows how lucky he is. I know how lucky I am." I remembered that moment, the warmth of it, the tree lights, the soft music, Tyler's breathing, David's hand in mine. That was real. I knew it was. But then I thought about Sunday dinner. Just days ago. You don't matter in these decisions. You're not contributing. Same person, same son. But the words were ice. The tone dismissive. The look on his face when he said it. Impatient. Annoyed. Like I was a burden he had to tolerate. I didn't know when it changed. When helping became using. When gratitude became entitlement. Maybe it was gradual. Maybe I just hadn't wanted to see it. But I saw it now. My phone rang. I looked at the screen. Sarah Mitchell. Right on time. I answered. "This is Carol." "Mrs. Anderson, it's Sarah Mitchell. Tom Patterson asked me to call before our meeting today. I've reviewed the information he sent over, the documents, the timeline, the emails." Her voice was clear, direct, professional. "And?" I asked. "You have a case," she said. "A strong one, but I need to ask you something before we proceed." "Okay. What do you want out of this?" Sarah asked. "Tom mentioned the amount, $85,000 plus potential lost growth, but I need to know, is this about the money or is it about something else?" I looked at the folder on my kitchen table. The documents inside. 4 years of evidence. "It's not about destroying my son," I said carefully. "I don't want that." "Then what is it about?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Respect," I said finally. "I want him to understand that I matter, that what I did mattered, that he can't just dismiss me." "That's fair," Sarah said. "But legally, we need to pursue this as a financial matter, a loan that hasn't been repaid. Can you accept that?" "What does that mean?" "It means we send a formal demand letter. Give him 30 days to respond. If he doesn't, we consider mediation or potentially legal action. It means you're treating this as a business matter, not a family matter." "But he's my son," I said. "I know." Sarah's voice softened slightly. "But Mrs. Anderson, Carol, can I be direct with you? Please. He treated your money like a business transaction. He took it, spent it, moved on. You're the one who's been treating it like family, and that's why you're hurting. Because family doesn't dismiss you. Family doesn't tell you that you don't matter." I felt something shift, a clarity I hadn't felt before. "You're right," I said. "So I'll ask again," Sarah said. "What do you want?" I took a breath. "I want my dignity back, my financial security, and I want him to know that actions have consequences." "Good," Sarah said. "That's what I needed to hear. I'll see you at 3 today. Bring all your documents, everything you showed Tom. We'll go through it together and decide on next steps." "Thank you," I said. "One more thing, Carol." "Yes? This is going to be hard," Sarah said. "Family disputes always are. But you're doing the right thing. Standing up for yourself isn't vindictive. It's necessary." We hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, Sarah's words echoing. Standing up for yourself isn't vindictive. It's necessary. I'd spent my whole life avoiding conflict, keeping the peace, making sure everyone else was comfortable even when I wasn't. I'd thought that was strength, sacrifice, love. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just fear. Fear of being difficult, fear of being seen as demanding, fear of being alone. But I wasn't afraid now. I stood up, went to the hallway closet, pulled out my filing cabinet, the one I'd organized years ago, everything labeled, everything in its place. I opened the drawer, found the folder labeled David Personal. It had photos, birthday cards, letters he'd written me over the years, Tyler's drawings, family memories. I pulled it out, set it on the floor. Then I took the folder from the kitchen table, the one with the bank statements, the withdrawal slips, the property records, the emails, the evidence. I opened the filing cabinet again, created a new folder, wrote on the tab in clear, careful letters, David, Financial Matter. I put all the documents inside, every single one, organized, dated, ready. Then I took the personal folder, the photos, the memories, and put it in a different drawer, separate. I wasn't erasing him. I wasn't cutting him out of my life. I was just separating love from business. Because Sarah was right. He'd treated my money like business. So I would too. I placed the financial folder in the filing cabinet, closed the drawer, then I went to my bedroom, opened the closet, pulled out the small safe I kept on the top shelf, the one John had bought years ago for important documents, birth certificates, passports, the deed to the house. I unlocked it, placed the key documents inside, copies of everything, the withdrawal slip, the property records, the emails, evidence secured, protected. I closed the safe, locked it, put the key in my jewelry box. Then I stood there for a moment, looking at the safe, the closed drawer in the filing cabinet, the separation I'd created. This wasn't anger, not anymore. Anger is exhausting. Anger burns hot and then burns out. This was something else, something cooler, clearer. I wasn't angry. I was clear. For the first time in 4 years, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I had the documents, I had the law, and I knew I had the power to set boundaries, Real boundaries. Not the kind I'd always talked about but never enforced. The kind that actually meant something. That's not vindictive. That's self-preservation. My phone buzzed. A text from Karen. "How are you doing, Mom? Thinking about you." I texted back. "I'm okay. Meeting with the attorney this afternoon." Her response was immediate. "Proud of you. Let me know how it goes." I set the phone down. 3 o'clock, Sarah's office. I was ready. I met Sarah at her office Thursday afternoon. Downtown, 14th floor. The view overlooked the river. Her office was exactly what I expected. Clean, organized. Diplomas on the wall. Photos of her parents, elderly, smiling, on her desk. She wasn't just an elder law attorney, she cared about it. I showed her everything, every document. She went through them methodically, taking notes, asking questions. By the time we finished, she leaned back in her chair. "Carol," she said, "you have one of the most documented cases I've seen. This is clear, straightforward. We can absolutely pursue this." What happens next? I send a demand letter, certified mail and email. It outlines the loan, the promise to repay, the amount owed. I'll include lost opportunity cost, that $28,000 Tom calculated. Total, $100,000. I'll give him 30 days to respond. 100,000. Not just the 85 I'd given him, but what I'd lost. "And if he doesn't respond?" I asked. "Then we move to the next step, mediation most likely, or potentially a lawsuit. But let's see how he responds first." I nodded. "Send the letter." Sarah drafted it that afternoon, read it to me before she sent it. Professional, clear, no emotion, just facts. The loan, the promise, the timeline, the amount owed. She sent it Friday morning. Certified mail to David's house. Email to his personal address. I waited. Saturday afternoon, my phone rang. David. I answered. "Hello." "What the hell, Mom?" His voice was loud, shaking. "A lawyer? You sent me a letter from a lawyer?" "I did. This is insane. You're actually suing me? Your own son?" I kept my voice level, steady. "I'm asking for what's mine, David. The law says I matter even if you don't think I do. This isn't about the law. This is about family." "You're right," I said. "It is about family. You took $85,000 from my retirement. You promised to pay me back in 2 years. It's been 4 years. You bought a truck, a pool, a boat, and then you told me I don't matter." Silence on the other end. "David, when you needed my money, you treated it like a transaction, so that's how I'm treating it now." "Mom, the letter gives you 30 days to respond. Talk to your attorney if you have questions." I hung up. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. I'd expected to feel guilty, anxious. Instead, I felt calm. A week later, Sarah called. "David's attorney reached out," she said. "Mark Chen. He's proposing a settlement, $500 a month until the debt is paid." I did the math quickly. 85,000 divided by 500. That's 14 years. Yes, I'd be 82. "Exactly why I'm recommending you reject it," Sarah said. "This isn't a realistic offer. It's a stall tactic." "What should I counter with?" $2,000 a month, or formal mediation with full financial disclosure. He needs to show he's serious. "Do it." Sarah sent the counteroffer. David's attorney responded 3 days later, rejected. Then Jessica called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mom." Her voice was shaking, crying. "Please, you're tearing the family apart. David is so stressed, he can't sleep. This is affecting Tyler. He hears us fighting." I closed my eyes, took a breath. "Jessica, I'm sorry Tyler is affected, but I gave David $85,000. He promised to pay me back. He didn't. Then he told me, I don't matter. I'm not tearing the family apart. I'm asking for respect. But can't you forgive it? Move on. It's been 4 years. Does the money really matter that much?" "It's not about the money," I said quietly. "It's about being dismissed, ignored, treated like I'm disposable." David didn't mean it that way. Then he should have said that at Sunday dinner. Instead, he told me my opinions don't matter. In front of you, in front of Tyler. Jessica was quiet. I love David, I continued. He's my son, but love doesn't mean I let him use me. I need him to understand that. He's going to hate you for this, Jessica said. Her voice was small, hurt. Maybe, I said, but at least he'll remember I exist. We hung up. I sat at the kitchen table, looked at the phone, wondered if I was doing the right thing. Then I remembered that email. She's too soft. She'll never ask for it back. I was doing the right thing. 2 weeks later, Sarah called again. David's attorney sent another offer, $1,000 a month. 7 years. I'd be 75. Still too long, I said. Agreed. I'm advising we push for formal mediation, a neutral third party, full financial disclosure. We'll have the mediator review all the evidence, present the case properly. Will David agree to that? His attorney is recommending it. They know you have the documentation. They know you're not backing down. Mediation is their best option. How long will it take? To schedule? A few months? The mediation itself? 1 session? Maybe 2 if it's complicated. Okay, I said. Let's do it. The next few months were slow, painful. Letters back and forth through attorneys, scheduling conflicts, delays. Every week felt like a year. David stopped calling, stopped texting, complete silence. Margaret noticed. One morning she came over with coffee. We sat on my back porch. Everything okay? She asked. I haven't seen David's truck in your driveway lately. We're going through something, I said carefully. I heard. Her voice was gentle. Betty from book club mentioned it. She heard from her daughter, who knows Jessica. Of course, small town. Everyone knew everyone. I'm not asking for details, Margaret said quickly. I just want you to know, if you need anything, I'm here. Thank you. We sat in silence for a while. Then Margaret stood. Come help me in the garden. You look like you need to dig in some dirt. We spent an hour weeding, pulling, planting, my hands in the soil, the physical work calming. Margaret didn't ask questions, just handed me tools when I needed them, worked beside me. After an hour, my breathing had slowed. The tension in my chest eased. Better? Margaret asked. Better, I said. In early January, Sarah called. We have a date, January 15th, 10 in the morning, mediation office downtown. Rebecca Walsh is the mediator. She's good, fair, professional. Will David be there? Yes, with his attorney. It'll be you and me, David and Mark Chen and Rebecca facilitating. What do I need to bring? Nothing. I have all the documents, all the evidence. You just need to be there. And Carol? Yes? Be prepared. David's attorney is going to try to paint you as vindictive, as a mother punishing her son. They'll try to make this emotional. Don't let them. Stay focused on the facts, the promise, the money, the lack of repayment. I can do that. I know you can. Sarah paused. One more thing. David might try to talk to you directly, before the mediation, or during a break. Don't engage. Everything goes through me and his attorney. Understood? Understood. Good. I'll see you January 15th, 9:45. We'll go over strategy before we go in. I hung up, looked at the calendar. January 15th, 3 weeks away. 3 weeks until I sat across a table from my son, until I laid out all the evidence, until I asked for what was mine. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't angry. I was ready. I arrived at the mediation office at 9:45, 15th floor, glass doors, reception area with gray couches and abstract art on the walls. Professional, neutral, designed to feel calm. Sarah was waiting, dark suit, briefcase. She looked composed, ready. You okay? She asked. Yes, I said. I was. Remember what we discussed. Stay focused on the facts. Don't get emotional. Let the evidence speak. I understand. David's going to be defensive. His attorney will try to minimize. Rebecca will keep things on track. Trust the process. I nodded. At 10 o'clock, we were led to a conference room. Long table. Windows overlooking the city. A pitcher of water. Glasses. legal pads, pens. Rebecca Walsh was already there, early 50s, calm presence. She introduced herself, explained the process. This wasn't a trial, no judge, no jury, just facilitated negotiation. The goal was agreement, resolution. Then David walked in. I hadn't seen him in 3 months, not since Sunday dinner. He looked thinner, tired, dark circles under his eyes. His attorney, Mark Chen, was with him. Professional, expensive suit, briefcase. David didn't look at me. Sat across the table. Stared at his hands. Rebecca began. We're here to discuss a financial matter between Carol Anderson and David Anderson. Mrs. Anderson alleges an unpaid loan of $85,000, provided in September 2019 with a promise of repayment within 2 years. Mr. Anderson's position is that this was a gift, not a loan. Let's start with opening statements. Mr. Chen? Mark Chen leaned forward. Thank you, Rebecca. My client acknowledges receiving $85,000 from his mother in 2019. However, there was no written agreement, no promissory note, no contract. In family situations, absent formal documentation, such transfers are presumed to be gifts. Additionally, the statute of limitations for verbal contracts in this state is 3 years. We're past that threshold. Rebecca made notes, turned to Sarah. Ms. Mitchell? Sarah didn't hesitate. The statute of limitations doesn't apply in cases of ongoing acknowledgement of debt. My client has emails from Mr. Anderson explicitly promising repayment. Those promises constitute ongoing acknowledgement. Furthermore, elder financial abuse statutes have different limitations periods. This isn't just a contract dispute. It's about a son taking advantage of his elderly mother's trust. Mark Chen's jaw tightened. That's inflammatory. It's accurate, Sarah interrupted. The evidence will show a pattern of financial exploitation. Rebecca raised her hand. Let's move to evidence. Ms. Mitchell, you have documents. I do. Sarah opened her briefcase. She pulled out a folder, placed it on the table. Then she began laying out documents, one by one. The bank withdrawal slip. September 12th, 2019, $85,000. My signature. The retirement account statement. Before and after, $280,000. Then $195,000. The property records. David's house. 1247 Maple Drive. Purchase date. September 28th, 2019. Purchase price, $425,000. Down payment, $85,000. Exact match. The email. September 15th, 2019. David to me. I promise I'll pay you back within 2 years. You're saving my family. I won't forget this. The vehicle registration. Ford F-150. April 2021. $45,000. The building permit. In-ground pool. June 2022. $35,000. The boat registration. August 2023, $28,000 total, $108,000 in purchases while the loan remained unpaid. Sarah arranged them carefully, methodically. The evidence spread across the table, impossible to ignore. Rebecca studied them, picked up the email, read it, set it down. Mr. Anderson, did you write this email? David glanced at it. Yes. You promised to repay your mother within 2 years. I meant to. Things changed. What changed? My income, the economy, expenses. Sarah pulled out one more document. This is Mr. Anderson's current salary information, obtained through discovery, $95,000 annually. He has the means to repay. Mark Chen shifted. Mrs. Anderson's financial situation is comfortable. Her house is paid off. She has a pension. That's irrelevant, Sarah said firmly. The question isn't whether she needs the money. It's whether she's entitled to it. And the answer is yes. Rebecca looked at me. Mrs. Anderson, would you like to say anything? I looked at David. He still wasn't meeting my eyes. You told me I don't matter, I said. My voice was quiet, steady. At Sunday dinner, in front of your wife, in front of Tyler. You said I don't understand how things work. that my opinions are irrelevant. David shifted in his chair. But when you needed $85,000, I continued, I mattered then. When you needed my retirement account. When you needed someone to sacrifice, I mattered. I paused, took a breath. This isn't about punishing you, David. It's about being seen, being respected. You can't dismiss me and then expect me to stay silent. The room was quiet. Mark Chen cleared his throat. Mrs. Anderson, my client acknowledges that the conversation at Sunday dinner was unfortunate. He's prepared to apologize. But regarding the financial matter, would you be willing to accept a structured payment plan? We've already rejected 2 payment plans, Sarah said. $500 a month, $1,000 a month, both inadequate. Mrs. Anderson would be in her 70s or 80s, waiting for repayment. What are you proposing? Rebecca asked. Full repayment, Sarah said. $100,000, $85,000 principal, plus $15,000 in lost investment growth. Mr. Anderson can refinance his house. Pull equity. He has options. Mark Chen shook his head. That's unrealistic. Refinancing takes time. The market... He had 4 years, I said. Everyone turned to look at me. I gave him 4 years. I never asked, never pushed, and he spent over $100,000 on trucks and boats and pools. He had time. He chose not to pay me back. David finally looked up, met my eyes. I was going to pay you back. When? I asked. Eventually. That's not a plan, David. That's a hope. I had financial problems, he said, his voice defensive. I lost my job in 2018. Do you remember? Jessica was pregnant. We were desperate. The house was the only stability we had. I know, I said. I remember. That's why I gave you the money, because you were desperate, because I wanted to help. Then why are you doing this now? Because you stopped being grateful, I said simply. You stopped seeing me as someone who sacrificed. You started seeing me as someone who didn't matter. David looked down. His hand shook slightly. He pressed it flat against the table. Rebecca spoke gently. Mr. Anderson, your attorney mentioned you're prepared to apologize. Would you like to do that now? David was quiet for a long moment. Then, I didn't mean it. Didn't mean what? Rebecca asked. What I said at dinner about Mom not mattering. I was frustrated. Tyler's college is coming up. Money is tight. I took it out on her. Why? I asked. He looked at me. Really looked. Because I felt like a failure. I'm 42 years old. I still needed help from my mother. I couldn't admit that. So I made it seem like your help didn't count. Like it didn't matter. Like you didn't matter. His voice cracked slightly. But you do. You always have. I felt something shift. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something softer. Understanding, maybe. Then why didn't you pay me back? I asked. I don't know, he said. Quieter now. I convinced myself you didn't need it. That you were fine. That it wasn't urgent. And then time passed, and it got harder to bring up. Easier to avoid. Well, you bought a truck, Sarah said. Not unkindly, just factual. I know, David said. I know how it looks. It looks like you took advantage, Sarah said. I did. David's shoulders slumped. I did take advantage, and I'm sorry. Rebecca looked at both attorneys. Let's discuss terms. What would resolve this? Mark Chen and Sarah exchanged looks. Mark spoke first. If my client agrees to repayment, we need a realistic timeline. A large lump sum isn't feasible. He owns a house worth over $400,000, Sarah countered. He can refinance, pull equity. That is feasible. How long would refinancing take? Rebecca asked. 60 to 90 days, Mark said reluctantly. Then let's set a 90-day deadline, Sarah said. $100,000, full repayment. If he doesn't meet it, we place a lien on the property. That's harsh, Mark said. It's fair, Sarah replied. He's Had 4 years. Rebecca turned to me. Mrs. Anderson, would you accept those terms? $100,000 within 90 days, or a lien is placed? I looked at David. And a written apology, not just words. I want you to write down what you understand, what you did, why it was wrong. David nodded slowly. Okay. And going forward, I continued, family gatherings are conditional. If you disrespect me again, I leave. No more tolerating dismissiveness. No more staying silent. I understand, David said. Rebecca wrote notes. Mr. Anderson, do you agree to these terms? $100,000 within 90 days. Written apology. Respectful behavior at family events. David looked at his attorney. Mark Chen gave a small nod. Yes, David said. I agree. Ms. Anderson? Rebecca asked. Do you accept? I looked at the documents on the table, the evidence, the proof, the mortgage form that had started all of this. Yes, I said. Rebecca stood. I'll draft the settlement agreement. Both parties will need to review and sign. This is binding. If Mr. Anderson fails to pay within 90 days, a lien will be placed on the property at 1247 Maple Drive. If either party violates the terms, the other has legal recourse. She left the room to prepare the documents. We sat there, waiting. David was looking at his hands again. I was looking at the evidence spread across the table. Sarah leaned close, whispered, "You okay?" I nodded. Yes. When the mediator read the final terms, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired, relieved, sad even. This wasn't how I wanted things to end, but it was honest. For the first time in years, our relationship was honest. No more pretending, no more avoiding. Just clear boundaries, clear expectations. That had to count for something. Rebecca returned with the agreement. 3 pages, terms, timeline, consequences. David signed first. His hand shook slightly, then me. The pen felt heavy. Rebecca stamped it. Binding 90 days. David looked at me across the table. Mom, I am sorry. I nodded. I'll believe it when I see the check. We left. Sarah and I walked to the elevator. The doors closed. You did well, Sarah said. That was hard. You held your ground. Thank you, I said. Call me if he doesn't pay, or if there are any issues. I will. I drove home, sat in my driveway for a moment before going inside. It was done. The confrontation, the evidence, the resolution. I'd gotten what I needed, not just the promise of money, but acknowledgement, respect, boundaries. Whether David would follow through, whether the check would come, I didn't know. But I'd stood up. I'd used my voice. I'd proven I mattered. And that, in itself, was enough. 68 days later, the check arrived. I was at the kitchen table when the mail came. Certified letter. I signed for it. Opened it standing in my driveway. A cashier's check. $100,000. Made out to Carol Anderson. I stood there looking at it. The weight of the paper. The official seal. The numbers. It was real. I called Tom immediately. The check came. Good, he said. Can you come in this afternoon? Let's get it deposited and reinvested properly. 2 hours later, I was in his office. Same dented thermos on his desk. Same view of the park. Tom took the check, examined it, processed it. Then he pulled up my account on the screen. Your retirement account is now at $295,000, he said. We'll put 60% in bonds, 40% in dividend stocks. Conservative, stable, you'll have income and security. I nodded. Thank you. Tom leaned back, looked at me. Really looked. Carol, I should have pushed harder in 2019. I should have insisted on a contract, a promissory note, something. Tom, no, let me finish. He set his thermos down. I knew it was a bad idea. I told you. But I should have refused to process it without documentation. I let you down. I thought about that, about the responsibility, the choices. I wouldn't have listened, I said finally. You told me to get it in writing. You were clear. I chose not to. That's not your fault. You trusted your son. I did, and I learned. I gestured at the screen, the restored account. I learned to protect myself, to document, to hold people accountable, even family. Tom was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled slightly. You did. And Carol? Yes? I'm proud of you. He pushed his thermos aside. You stood up for yourself. That takes courage. It was the first time in 15 years he'd called me Carol instead of Mrs. Anderson. That meant something. Thank you, Tom. The next day, Margaret came over. She had a coffee cake on a plate, covered in foil. Is this celebration? I asked, opening the door. Understated celebration, she said. I heard. From Betty at book club? From Betty at book club, Margaret confirmed. She smiled. Small town. We sat on my back porch, the coffee cake between us, quiet companionship. Are you okay? Margaret asked after a while. Really okay? I'm sad, I said honestly, about what happened, about David, about how it had to end up. But I'm not sorry I stood up for myself. I looked at her. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. Margaret cut 2 slices of cake, handed me one. You can love someone and still require respect. Those aren't opposites. We ate in silence, the garden in front of us, the afternoon sun warm on our faces. Thank you, I said after a while, for not asking questions, for just being here. That's what neighbors do, Margaret said simply. That evening, Karen called from Oregon. Mom, David called me. I tensed. And he's chastened. Karen's voice was thoughtful. I've never heard him like that. He told me what happened, the mediation, the settlement, the apology he owes you. Did he sound angry? No, he sounded ashamed. Karen paused. I think he finally gets it, Mom. What he did, how he treated you. Maybe, I said. I wasn't ready to believe it yet, not without seeing it. I'm proud of you, Karen said. I know I already said that, but I am. You taught me something. You taught both of us something. What's that? That boundaries don't mean you don't love someone. They mean you love yourself, too. I felt my throat tighten. Thank you, honey. Come to my place for Thanksgiving, Karen said. Tom and the kids want to see you. We'll make it a good one. I'd like that. 2 weeks after the check arrived, I received a letter. Handwritten. 2 pages. David's handwriting. I sat at the kitchen table, opened it slowly. Mom, I've had months to think about what happened. What I said, what I did. You gave me everything. Not just the money, though that was huge. You gave me college, a wedding, stability when I failed, and I repaid you by saying you don't matter. I was embarrassed, ashamed that I still needed help at 42. Instead of being grateful, I was defensive. I made you feel small so I could feel bigger. I'm sorry, really sorry. Not because of the money, but because I hurt you. I'm working on being better. Better son, better father, better man. I'm in counseling now, court-ordered, but I'm actually going. I'm learning about pride, about shame, about how I use other people to avoid my own feelings. I don't know if you'll forgive me. I don't know if Sunday dinners will ever be the same. But I want you to know you were right. You do matter. You always have. I'm grateful for everything you did. I'm sorry it took losing you to realize it. I hope someday you'll want Sunday dinners again. Love, David. I read it 3 times. The first time, I looked for excuses. The second time, I looked for blame shifting. The third time, I just read it. Maybe he meant it. Maybe he didn't. But I'd learned something important over the past months. I didn't need his validation anymore. I had my own. A week later, I met with Sarah at her office. Not for litigation, for estate planning. I want to make sure this never happens again, I said. I want protections. Sarah pulled out forms, walked me through options. We updated my will. Karen would receive 60% of my estate. David, 40%. Not equal anymore. Karen had been there. Karen had supported me. That mattered. We created a trust for Tyler, $50,000 for his education. David couldn't touch it, couldn't use it. It was Tyler's. Protected. We revised my power of attorney. Karen was now primary. David was backup. If I became incapacitated, Karen would make decisions. Not David, not anymore. Your assets are protected now, Sarah said. Your house, your retirement, your investments. No one can pressure you into giving away what's yours. Thank you, I said. And Carol? Sarah looked at me over her reading glasses. You did the right thing, standing up for yourself. I know it was hard, but you set a boundary. You enforced it. That's strength. I drove home feeling lighter, the documents secured, the protections in place, my future mine again. That weekend, Margaret and I planted tulip bulbs in my front garden. It was cold, late fall. The soil was hard. We worked side by side, digging, placing bulbs, covering them. These won't bloom until spring, Margaret said. I know. Months away. I know. Margaret smiled, handed me another bulb. But they'll come back every year if you take care of them. I planted the bulb, covered it with soil, thought about that, about things that come back, about patience, about care. They're perennials, I said. The good ones always are. We worked in comfortable silence, hands in the cold soil, planting for a spring we couldn't see yet. When we finished, Margaret stood, brushed dirt from her knees. Coffee tomorrow? Absolutely. That evening, I took the settlement agreement to the bank, placed it in my safe deposit box, next to the deed to my house, next to the original mortgage documents from David's house purchase, next to my updated will, everything documented, everything protected, everything secure. I closed the box, locked it, walked out into the late afternoon light. My life was mine again. 8 months later, I sit at my kitchen table, same chair, same morning light through the window, same coffee mug I've used for years. But everything is different. My bank statement sits in front of me, retirement account, $302,000. Growing again, not just restored, better, protected. The house is quiet, mine, paid off 30 years ago and still mine, secure. David and I meet for coffee sometimes, once a month maybe, downtown, neutral territory. It's awkward. We're careful with each other. He asks about my week. I ask about Tyler. We don't talk about the money. We don't talk about Sunday dinner. We're learning how to be around each other again. Progress. Slow. Uncertain. But progress. Last month, Tyler visited with his girlfriend, Emma. She's sweet. Studying engineering. They sat in my living room for 2 hours. Tyler told her stories about his grandmother, about Sunday dinners when he was little, about my roast chicken. Grandma, he said as they were leaving, my dad told me you're tough. I smiled. I'm not tough, honey. I just know I matter. He hugged me, tight. I'm proud of you. That meant something. Some days, I miss the old David, the one who called every Sunday, who brought Tyler over for pancakes, who hugged me like I was his whole world. But that David only existed because I never said no. This David, the one who has to earn my time, who has to respect boundaries, who can't just take, is more honest, maybe more real. I don't know yet if we'll get back to Sunday dinners. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But if we do, it'll be on my terms, when respect is real. I updated my estate plan 6 months ago. Everything is in order now. Karen gets 60%, David 40%. The house goes to Karen. She'll handle the sale fairly. My retirement account splits according to the will. David's share goes into a trust until he's 50. 6 more years. Time to prove he's learned. Tyler's education fund is protected. $50,000 he can access at 18, for college, for his future. David can't touch it. I volunteer at the senior center now, 2 hours every Tuesday afternoon. I help people review financial documents before they sign. 3 people have come in this year with adult children asking for money. I tell them the same thing. Get it in writing. Love doesn't mean you surrender your security. One woman, Martha, 73, had a son who wanted $40,000 for a business. I helped her draft a promissory note, payment schedule, interest rate, consequences if he doesn't pay. "Will he think I don't trust him?" she asked. "If he's trustworthy," I said, "he'll understand, and if he's not, you'll be protected." She signed it. Her son signed it. 3 months later, he's making payments on time. That's the work now, helping others, teaching what I learned. Sometimes I give informal talks. When family asks for help. Nothing fancy, just practical advice. How to document, how to protect yourself, how to say no with love. Tuesday evenings, I still go to book club at the library. Same group for 12 years. They knew what happened. Small town, everyone talks, but nobody asked questions. They just saved my usual seat. That meant everything. Thursday mornings, coffee with Margaret. Still, always. Once a month, garden club. I'm learning about perennials. Things that come back every year if you take care of them properly. I'm different now. I don't give until I'm empty. I don't sacrifice my security for someone else's comfort. I love my family. I'd help them again if they needed it, but I'd do it differently, with documentation, with boundaries, with respect required. The photo albums still have David's childhood pictures, his college graduation, his wedding, Tyler's birth. Those memories are real. They matter. I haven't erased him, but the mortgage documents, the settlement agreement, the evidence, those are in the safe deposit box at the bank, separate, secured. Love and business aren't the same thing. I confused them once. I won't again. I learned something at 68. Something I should have known earlier, but didn't. You can love someone and still require respect. Those aren't opposites. They're partners. Sacrifice means giving from abundance, not security. My retirement account was my security. I gave too much. I won't do that again. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're preservation. Saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself, too. Documents matter. Get everything in writing. Promises fade, memories change, but papers don't lie. If someone really intends to repay you, they'll sign. If they won't sign, you have your answer. Most important, you matter. Even when someone tells you you don't, even when it's your child, even when it's family, you matter. Your dignity matters. Your security matters. Your life is yours. I'm not telling this story to shame David. He's working on himself. Counseling, reflection, growth. I hope he succeeds. I really do. I'm telling it because maybe you're in my situation. Maybe someone you love dismissed you, made you feel small, took advantage of your kindness. You matter. Your security matters. Your dignity matters. What would you have done in my place? Would you have pulled out that mortgage form at Sunday dinner? Would you have hired a lawyer? Would you have fought for $85,000, even if it meant conflict? Or would you have stayed silent? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious what you think, because the truth is, I didn't destroy my son. I saved myself. And at 68, I've learned that surviving with dignity is its own kind of victory. The tulip bulbs Margaret and I planted last fall are starting to come up. Spring is here. They'll bloom soon, bright, beautiful, coming back like they're supposed to. Through my kitchen window, I see Margaret in her garden. She looks up, waves, mouths. Coffee tomorrow? I wave back, nod. Absolutely. Some things don't change. The good things, the things worth keeping, and the things that needed to change, they did. My life is mine again, quiet, secure, independent, exactly as it should be.